Alright, here we are back again in the closet studio. This is theZim, and this is theZim's Video Journal episode 33. First off, I put out another podcast last Thursday, and this time it was with Bucket of Honey, and great, had a good time. I'm trying to remember, what I felt like during I'm getting more confident, definitely getting more confident, in the the interview process, trying to do that thing, make it happen. I don't know. There's really not much to say. The only thing I can say about it is I was hoping that this one in particular would have helped spread the word of the podcast, because I mean, from my perspective, they have people that care about them and know about them and seek out and have a bigger network of musicians and friends and fans specifically that come out to their shows and whatnot and are seeking and know about them. So I was hoping that I'd be hoping there'd be more downloads of the podcast, and so far there's only been like 3 downloads of that particular version so far, and I'm not completely sure why. I know the only artist that has reshared, that I know of, that has reshared the podcast to their page. I mean, I tag everybody. When I released the podcast, I released it on the Word on the Street on the Facebook, and then I put it on my own personal one as well. And I'm friends with the people so far. I'm usually always friends with the people I'm interviewing, either before or after I get in touch with them, and then I tag them in a post, so it shows up on their timeline. It's on their wall, or whatever you call it now, things like that on Facebook. But not many of them so far, since there's been 3 released. The only person that's reshared it, I believe, has been the first guy I did, Jeremy Forstring. He was the only guy that has reshared it, which is really important to reaching out people, because just the way Facebook works, it doesn't, by me tagging stuff, it limits it. But once you reshare it, once the artist would reshare it, it gets to a much bigger network than just me tagging them in the post. So I'm hoping that'll happen more often down the line, because I'm really trying to, obviously I want people to check this out, because it's like a thing. It's like just like anything else that I'm trying to do. I want people to find out about it, and part of this thing is it's not just my band, it's not just me, and it's not just my network. It's the network of the Seattle music scene, really, and more people. And hopefully, as time goes on, it'll generate something. But I felt, honestly felt a little discouraged at how little interest this last one was, because I thought it would have a bit more reaction from the community of musicians and people in the scene, because Bucket Honey is awesome. The bottom line, I think they're awesome, and they clearly have support of the scene. So I'm not sure why it didn't get more. Maybe over a few weeks it'll get more people interested in it, but I'm not sure. And first time in the full length versions that I've gotten Arock to do the intro piece with me, which was really cool. It's good to have that. I really want that to happen more often. I hope it will. We'll see how it goes. But whatever. It's all good. If it doesn't, I'll just keep on rolling. One thing, an interesting idea. I'm trying to learn how to do these podcasts and record and create a comfortable environment for the people that are talking, and so that they'll be free to just talk freely and just kind of do what they want. And I've noticed, I've done 7 now, and I've noticed for the most part, I've recorded 7. I have them ready to be put out, but I've noticed that once I hit stop on the recording, because the way I have it, it's like I don't have like a team or anything that's doing the recording, and I'm just talking to the people. It's like I have the laptop right in front of me. I hit record right in front of me. Everybody's huddled around the laptop, so they see it all working. we have our conversation. The moment I hit stop on the recording, the conversation changes completely, and it gets way more free, and it gets way more honest. And that's the conversation I hope to eventually start to have on the podcast, is that conversation once I hit stop. But I understand, in the honesty, you may be willing to say things that you don't want everybody to know, and which is fine. I'm just hoping that there's ways you can talk about things that have happened to you as a musician in the scene, how you honestly feel about being a musician and in the scene, and say it in a way that doesn't alienate anybody or yourself. And I'm hoping I can get to that place, because I understand you don't want to ever talk bad about something, but I just want honest stories. So it's like people will know what it's like. I want to know what the culture is like. And maybe down the line, I will also speak even more freely about what I've heard and what I see things going. I mean, it's nothing unexpected or uncommon. It's a pretty same stories that you hear and probably could predict. But at the same time, it means more if it's coming from the mouths of people, if it's a first degree rather than a second or third degree of, I heard this person say. It's like coming from the mouth of the person affected by it, which I think would mean so much more. And it's definitely interesting talking now that I've learned more about how the scene works and how things go. And, I've had my personal opinions about things, and my own, not only opinions, but actual influence and how I've been affected by things. And now I'm hearing other stories and how they intermix and how they're similar or slightly different, or some people have way stronger opinions on certain things. So it's interesting. I'm interested to see how this all will unfold, and I really, like I said before, I really hope it's a conduit for conversation, and it's a conduit for improvement. It's a conduit for people to understand what it's like to be a musician right now in Seattle specifically, but just in general, really, and what can be done to help support each other as a community. That's my goal, and that's a big part of it for sure. And it won't happen unless people are actually listening to it. So hopefully down the line it'll grow. I mean, I'm only on the third one, but I get impatient for sure. I think a lot of people probably relate to that idea, but I'm feeling the pressure of impatience, and I'm ready for, like I've said many times, I'm just ready for something to happen, something to generate that I can be a part of that's not just me. Like these video journals, the last couple have gotten 3 or 4 or 5 views. Every once in a while I'll get a 20 view one, but that's still very small compared to the amount of musicians that are in the city and the amount of people that are in the world. I mean, it's on YouTube. I don't know what to do to make it so people will just watch it just because they're interested in learning something different or want to see something, but we'll see. I don't know. So that kind of leads me on to my next idea that I'm going to start seeking out. And because of the low response of the last podcast, I was like, what can I do to increase, listenership? Because it's like Facebook, I don't know how many people on Facebook are also podcast listeners. I know there's definitely a lot of podcast listeners out there, and but I gotta find them, right? And my next step is I'm gonna start reaching out to other local Seattle podcasts. It really doesn't matter what they're about. I'm just gonna reach out to like anyone I can find and say, hey, will you do a segment on me? Can I come in and interview, or can be a part of yours for a couple of minutes to just say, hey, there's this new podcast out, and hopefully maybe get more listeners. People that are already listening to the podcast will then check it out and decide after listening to it whether or not they want to continue listening to it or not. So that's my next step. I'm going to seek out. So if you know any local, especially local podcasts, if you're watching this, let me know what podcasts you listen to that are local, oriented, Seattle, Northwest, slanted, and that'll just help me out, and I'd really appreciate your help that way. So be sure to, you could just, wherever you see this video, if it's on Facebook or go to YouTube, post in the comments, or send me a message to any of my direct messaging services that you can do. If it's on Facebook, it's either my page or it's the Zim and Arock, or it's word on the street. So there's all, you can direct message through all of those. But anyway, you can contact me would be great, and let me know of the podcasts you like to listen to that are local slanted, and I will reach out to them and try to get something generated and going. And I'd be much appreciative of that. The other thing to mention, the last thing I'm going to mention, is the Zim and Arock. What we're doing, basically, the getting shows is that kind of momentum that happens, like I've talked about before, how when you don't have any shows, it seems like it's hard to get shows, and then once you start to get shows, they just kind of happen. And basically, I'm booked out. The Zim and Arock are booked out all the way through March, which is great. We got 2 shows a month all the way through March. First one is January 17th at Williams Pub in Renton. We're going to be on the stage with St. John and the Revelations and another band called the High Speed Wobblies. We're on 2nd. It's a free show, so hopefully some people will come out for that. We're going to bring it and, rock the house for sure. We got January 30th at Flight's Pub in Everett. Don't have the lineup for that one yet. We got February 18th at the Benbow Room in West Seattle. That's going to be an acoustic show. So there's going to be no electronics behind us, just me on guitar and Arock playing hand drum, which will be fun. We haven't done that for a while. We got March 14th. That's my birthday. We're going to be cruising down to Olympia to the 4th Ave. Don't have any other band lineup information on that one yet, though, but we're going to be doing that. And then March 27th, we're going to be at Benbow again. We're going to do this Battle of the Bands that I heard about through the Law Dogs music show. They're an NWCZ radio show, and saw on Facebook he was trying to get bands to be part of a Battle of the Bands, and supposedly, I don't know if you're familiar with Battle of the Bands, how they work. Typically, they're a popularity contest, so typically it's just all about how many people you bring. It doesn't matter how good of a band you are, it's just all about whether or not you bring enough people to be louder than the other bands, and so that's who wins. On the Facebook post, they mentioned this is not a popularity contest. There's going to be actual judges and all that kind of stuff. And so it'll be interesting. I don't really care about all that. I just, honestly, the main point of doing it, I like doing Battle of the Bands is because it makes, like you've heard me say before, make each show an event. Make each show something different, or not different necessarily, but just something special. Find a way to make each show special, and that just makes this show a little bit more special. Another thing to add content to how I advertise. It's like, Battle of the Bands, come check it out. We're going to do this, come support. So if people want to support us as fans, they can say, hey, I like that band, I want to come support him. But it also just gets us in front of another group of people that may never have heard us before, because, like I said, there'd be judges and there'd be other bands, and then, I don't know, it's an opportunity. I'm just looking at it as another opportunity to get in front of more people, because that's what you got to do. So, and the cool part about this run up through March, there's a potential one in February for Bellingham. It's not solid yet, but I'm really crossing my fingers it'll be solid in the next couple of days. But that'll be exactly what I want. Is like there is no shows. It would be nice to have a show in there that was in Seattle proper, but it's a good spread of areas. I don't feel like it feels good to me going Renton, Everett, West Seattle, potentially Bellingham, Olympia. So good. This is awesome. This is exactly what I wanted, and I'm excited for it. So, thanks for watching, and once again, this is the Zim's Video Journal, episode 33 in the Closet Studio. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. Please do that. Go to YouTube, wherever you're watching this, go to the YouTube page, hit subscribe, and do that. I'll subscribe back to your page as well. That's no big deal. I'll do that. And then also be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Be sure to go to any of your favorite any of your favorite online music services and download our music. We'd really appreciate it if you did that. And, talk to me about what you hear on this podcast, what you hear on this video journal or on the podcast. Hit me up. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything. Interact with this. It'd be great. So that's all I have to say. I'll have all the links, as usual, in the description of this video on YouTube. So go to YouTube and go to the description of this video. There'll be a bunch of links to take you directly to all the things we talked about. So thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. All right, peace.